very good morning and welcome to the very beautiful Polish city of Krakow. This is my third visit here, and on previous occasions I didn't really do any videos because I was just taking a break and enjoying the place. But today I've got a few hours. Arrived in Krakow 2 days ago, primarily to go and see the band Pearl Jam at the arena here. Absolutely fantastic show and thoroughly enjoyed that. And yesterday I took a trip to Zakopane, which is a 2.5 hour coach ride away from Krakow, so I spent the whole of yesterday doing that. And today, later on today, I moved on to Warsaw to primarily there to see the band Rammstein at the National Stadium, so looking forward to that later today. But in the meantime, between breakfast and trains, I've got a couple of hours just to have a little reprise of this fantastic place, this great city of Krakow. So the video's not going to last 2 hours, at least I hope not, but that's how long I've got just to have a little walk around and see the beautiful centre. It's a massive city here, there's loads going on, loads to see. I'll just concentrate on the really picturesque parts right in the centre. Hotel I picked this time, as it was just more for functional purposes, is just on the edge of the old town, reasonably inexpensive, called Hotel Polera. Well worth it. Very nice, old-fashioned type hotel, but fantastic breakfast, nice clean room, and you know, I couldn't ask for any more really. Very good value for money also. So that's a little shout out to the Hotel Polera. And right, so let's head on in. It's roughly a 5 to 10 minute walk into the very centre of the Krakow Old Town. There are some hotels in the actual square itself that overlook the square. If you decide on a hotel in the old square itself in Krakow, then pay the extra and have one overlooking the square itself. I did that last time. It was absolutely fabulous, really good hotel, but of course, like with everything else, you pay somewhat more for that privilege. I'd say it's well worth it. On this occasion it wasn't worth it because I wasn't going to be hanging around in the room long enough to enjoy that. But anyway, let's get on. Let's go and see what this great city is looking like this morning. It's a July morning, it's Saturday, and I should think it's still fairly quiet out there, as a lot of people were heading out last night to party, and I should imagine most of those are still in bed. It's an absolutely lovely morning, great day for a walk, and let's not waste this 2 hours I've got before I have to say goodbye to Krakow again. But it's certainly a city I would never get tired of coming to. A lot of greenery around the city as well. There's a park that more or less surrounds the central part of the city. It is touristy here, obviously. People from all around the world come here, and it's a good base if you want to go to the Tatras Mountains, as I did yesterday at Zakopane, and also if you wish to visit places such as the salt mines and of course Auschwitz, which are not very far away. I thoroughly recommend a trip to Auschwitz if you come. It certainly puts life into perspective when you have that explained to you in the manner in which they did it there. Anyway, that's something for another day. Yeah, not too many people about this morning, just taking a nice stroll around the centre, and I'll be back in a minute when I get to the main square. In fact, I took a wrong turn in there, should have carried on slightly. This is where I need to be. Well, so that was somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes stroll from the hotel. Like with any big city, there's a wide range of hotels, from insanely expensive to hostels and backpack hostels and so on and so forth here. The further out from the centre you go, the lower price they'll be on the whole. Here is pretty much ground zero for expensive hotels, and there is a reason. This is the main square in Krakow. It's very pretty, very picturesque, very lively at night. Plenty of stuff going on, street performers. You've got the horse and carriages that pick up just there. They're not out yet. It's a bit early, it's not even 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning, but they're there most of the day and late into the night. For those that want to go tours around the city, there are some. If you look on TripAdvisor, there's an indication on the prices of that on there. It's not hugely expensive. It's not particularly cheap either, and I think you can possibly negotiate your price with the driver. The fountains are not even switched on properly yet. This is how early I am today, but this is a good time to come and have a little look around the centre. Now, most of the upper rooms above these restaurants here are accommodations of one form or another, either hotels or apartments that you can rent. And as I say, if you're going to be this central to Krakow and pay the extra to be in this location, I would say get one with a room with a view over this square. Preferably one where you can also open the window and pop your seat by it and just sit there and people watch from your room. It's fantastic. I did it myself, thoroughly enjoyed that. And as I say, there's so much going on once the horse and carriages are here, and street entertainers, and just people milling around, particularly in the evening time, having an ice cream. The market's not open yet. This is a market right in the centre of the square, and that has all sorts of stalls in there selling everything from tourist things to locally produced goods. Some of them's just setting up their stalls for the day. Very interesting, well worth a little look around there. Another thing, like with most places in Europe, toilet facilities are not all that frequent. They're pretty good in Poland on the whole. They do seem to have more than a lot of places, like the Netherlands, for example. You're lucky to find a public toilet there. But should you ever need one, Poland isn't too bad, but keep some small change in your pocket, because there's always a charge. Nothing's ever for free anymore, including popping to the loo. On average round here it seems to be about 3 zloty, which is 75 cents or 60 pence. It's a beautiful square. Even got a McDonald's here. If you're going to eat out in the square, needless to say also, the prices of the restaurants here are going to be more than if you take off down a side street. So do your homework on TripAdvisor. I'm assuming no one wants to specifically come here to eat at McDonald's. Some of them specialise in Polish cuisine. And if you take advice from TripAdvisor, it's pretty good. The ones that, if you do want to try some Polish cuisine, that will recommend good ones and good value for money ones. But as I say, if you eat here, no matter how good it is or isn't, it's still going to be more expensive than eating somewhere else. Plus, I noticed certainly at the peak meal times, it can be slightly difficult to get a table. In fact, when I was here a few weeks ago, I dined at a restaurant outside just over there. I can't remember which one specifically, but they had some spare tables, but the waitress said she was on her own due to COVID, people being off sick and shortage of staff, etc. The same as everywhere else in the world. Where have all these people gone? Where are they all? Everywhere can't be short of staff. But she couldn't allow any more in because she couldn't cope with the demand, which I suppose is honest and fair play to them on that score, because the last thing you want is to sit down at a restaurant and then be ignored for 3/4 of an hour, and then it take another 3/4 of an hour for your meal to turn up. So that was fair enough. I can't understand where everybody's gone to. Everywhere seems to be short of staff. I know a lot of people took early retirements when COVID kicked off. Thought they'd take that opportunity to call it a day. I certainly considered that myself for my daytime job. Well, as you can see, this is an absolutely fabulous square, and this is worth quite a bit of anyone's time just to come here and soak up the atmosphere. As I said earlier on, this is Saturday morning. It's probably about 9 o'clock. Now, an interesting thing, there's a well-known Polish tune that gets played on trumpets out of the top of the basilica there, I believe on the air every hour. So I'm going to have a quick check of the time, and I'll try and film that if indeed is on the hour every hour. But I certainly heard it when I was here last time, and I think you get a few glassy-eyed Poles that recognise the tune and find it it's very traditional. So I'll see if I can pick that up in a few moments. Well, there you have it, and that's done on all four sides of the tower. So you'll probably hear that again going in the background, but fortunately the first one there was the one pointing in this direction. Hopefully you heard that. But it's quite funny actually when that happens. A lot of people know it's about to happen, but also completely stop out of almost reverence for it and wait for it to finish, and look up as well to try and see the guy blowing the trumpet up there. Well, that's a really nice thing. I like that. And that gets done 4 times, once in each direction. You can barely hear it in the complete opposite side now. And the fountains have begun. See these water pumps quite a lot. Most of them do work. Eventually. Is this one going to work? Oh yeah, there we go. Don't fill your water bottle with that. That sign clearly states in Polish it's not for drinking. And there goes the fourth trumpet. And here come the horses and carts. Now, you may have noticed quite a few vans whizzing around, and in fact there are still quite a few vans here now and vehicles moving. It is a pedestrianised area, and that stops pretty much just first thing in the morning to allow deliveries to the restaurants and shops that are here. But once the day has got underway properly, vehicles tend to stop being around here, and it's a lot calmer. There's usually eventually there will be a massive row of horse and carriages queuing up here. This is where you come to negotiate your price or ask them, find out where you can go to. Right, so the cloth hall has opened now, or the gates have been opened at least, to let people in. So let's have a little stroll through. Not many of the stalls are actually open yet. I guess that's going to be a slow burner. So it is quite early on a Saturday morning, and the whole of Krakow seemed to be out partying last night. Stalls open or not, this building itself is worthy of a visit. National costume. When I took a walk over to the Central Railway Station and bus station on Thursday evening, there's a stage set up quite close to there, and there was a show on of Polish dancing, which was quite interesting, and I was going to pop back last night to have a look. The stage is still there. I couldn't quite understand the sign as to when the next show was going to be, whether it was going to be a different day or a different time, but I was up there at about 8 o'clock yesterday evening and there was nothing happening at all, so I'm not entirely sure. But if there's anything like that on the go, it doesn't cost you anything. If there's well worthy of having a look. It's very interesting. They were all wearing national costumes or regional costumes. Well, that's the square. Not a lot more, not more I can say about the square really. It's very, very picturesque. It gets very busy here at night. There were some street entertainers right here where I'm stood now, and they had a huge crowd. They were really rather good as well. And there was some around the corner at the other entrance to the market here. And I would say they weren't quite as good, but they were doing their best, bless them. Right, onwards and upwards. As I probably mentioned a few times in the past, you can't really beat a European city, especially a historic European city that's got trams, a fine market square, and a river going right through the middle of it. And Krakow certainly has all of those things. That's European cities at their absolute best. And certainly Krakow is one of those that has been, well, it wasn't really destroyed during the war. There are reasons for that, as opposed to cities like Warsaw, which were pretty much flattened totally, that I won't get into now. But Krakow survived most of the Second World War, and that certainly shows now. The infrastructure is still here. Yeah, when you get, it's a big city, a very big city, and when you get on the outside of it, as I did yesterday, of course, when you get to the outskirts, there's a lot of modern stuff, a lot of shopping malls and so on and so forth. But the important thing is the very centre of Krakow is absolutely stunning. And you have this park that encircles the city, really. And a tram system that really seems fit for purpose. A good way of getting around if you want to head out of the centre, but it's a very walkable city. If you are planning to just stay a few days here, there's probably no real need to venture too far out of the centre. And if you do, there's ticket machines at most of the main stops, at least, that translate into English. So all in all, it's fairly straightforward. But I would imagine most people coming on a short break here probably would not really need the trams, but I just like to see them anyway. Lovely and cool in here, plenty of tree cover. If you do come to Krakow, thoroughly recommend dedicating at least one day to getting out of the city and heading to either Auschwitz, the sunk mines. There are tours that will take you to either or both on the same tour. The very least amount of time you'll spend doing that is probably about 7 hours. They're a fair distance away from here, and the tour, certainly the tour of Auschwitz, takes quite a while. It's very, very informative and very, very interesting. Zakopane really would need to be done as a completely separate entity altogether. You can go by train or by coach. It takes between 2.5 and 3 hours to get there. But it's well worth the visit. If you've got time, I would certainly recommend all of those things. You can do all of them under your own steam. However, I would certainly, for Auschwitz, I would recommend a tour where they pick you up from a particular spot here in Krakow, maybe even your hotel if you're not in the very centre, and drop you back off there. And they arrange the professional guide to take you around when you get there. And it's very well worth the visit. Just stepping out of the very centre now and just walking down to the river. As I say, a city with a fine market square, trams and a river always get my vote. So let's go and have a look at the river. It's the Wisla, and it runs right through the centre of Poland and out into the Baltic Sea. Up near Gdansk, I think, if memory serves me correctly. Also known as the Vistula. Hopefully I've pronounced either or one of those correctly. Please feel free to correct me. And here we are down at the water's edge, the Wisla in Krakow. And lots of these sort of houseboat affairs here with restaurants on that seem to be quite popular in the evenings, and quite a few, if you come a bit later in the day than this is, there'll be people offering boat trips up and down the river, which I'm sure is an excellent and relatively inexpensive way to spend an hour or so. And people seem to like dining down here as well, so well worthy of popping down. Now, what appears to be a bit of a theme with rivers, for me at least, in Poland, and I'm still waiting to be proved otherwise, that a lot of the time you can't get very close to the actual water's edge. You seem to be up on a high level, a little bit like that over there, with a sheer drop down to the water, and not being able to get that close. But here, I'm pleased to say, they've got this low level walking area right next to the water, a cycle track, and a great place to go for a jog or a cycle ride, or indeed use those e-scooters that are absolutely everywhere here. I can't remember which one they have here, Lime I think, but they, funnily enough I can't actually see any at the moment, but you see them dotted about all over the place. But either way round, whatever you fancy doing, you can walk quite a long way along this side of the river and cross over at some point and walk back down the other side. So that's a very pleasant way of spending some time. Or just bring a towel down here and some sandwiches and sit there and just watch the world go by. Now right ahead of us there, that's Wawel's Royal Castle. I've not actually been in there, but I do understand it's well worthy of a visit. Very, very famous for Polish people. And you know, plenty to look at when you get in there. It's on my list of things to do. I've certainly not got the time for it today, or indeed on this visit. If it wasn't for the fact I was going to Warsaw to see Rammstein today, I'd stay another day in Krakow and definitely go and do that, but needs must sometimes. I've been waiting, is it 3 years or 2 years? Our friend COVID has put paid to this particular trip I'm on. Yeah, these are the little boats you can go for rides on. Different sorts really, little motorboats and so on, Vistula cruises. Uh, 60 minutes. 30 minutes for 40 zloty, 60 zloty for 60 minutes. So what's that? £12, isn't it? £12, just under, about £11 for a 60-minute boat ride. That's pretty good. Went for a boat ride in Seville in Spain. Of course, we're in the Eurozone, so everything's twice the price it is in Poland. And yeah, it was about 20 euros or something like that for a similar sort of cruise or boat ride. I think calling it a cruise is probably over-egging it slightly. Yeah, let's call it a boat trip. Yeah, on that side of the river, that's the modern part of Krakow, the business part if you like, and you can instantly see that as you look across. It's probably not an awful lot over there for tourists other than shopping malls and one or two things you possibly may need, but the real interesting stuff is on this side of the river, the historic part of Krakow. And that building there with that big white balloon thing in front of it, that's probably the ugliest building in Krakow. And saying that, even that isn't too bad, but Forum. But just in front of those, out of interest, I noticed these on the previous visit that you can rent those floating hotel rooms, and they're pretty reasonably priced. I cannot for the life of me just remember what they're called. Something along the lines of Vistula View or something like that, but they're on booking.com, and you can easily find them on there if you put the right words in for searching. And I certainly would have considered staying there this time, but I needed to be more central. But they're worth a look. But yeah, that side over there, there's probably not a great deal for most short-term visitors to Krakow anyway. Hope you enjoyed the little whistle-stop tour this morning. In terms of coming, this part of Poland does get pretty warm in July and August, and very cold in winter, so pick your time carefully and bring the right clothing with you. But personally I would say very early summer or very early autumn, when there's less crowds but the weather's nice, would be a good time. So sort of June and September would be a perfect time to come here, unless you want the massive crowds. There's certainly plenty going on, and plenty of those in the market square at night. It's very vibrant, really nice just to sit there, sit in a bar, have a drink, just watch the world go by. It does get a bit hotter and a bit more humid in July and August. Okay, hope you enjoyed this video. I'm off to Warsaw. Don't think I'll have time there to do a video. It's way too big of a city, and frankly it's nothing like as interesting as Krakow, but I might throw something together if I get the time. Bye from Krakow. See you again soon.